Hi, I'm back again. My name is Avi Dobuler. I'm talking to you from the Shvela, from Beit Shemesh, from the lowlands, the in-between location between the lower coastal plain in front of me to the west and behind me, Yerushalayim over my right shoulder, the holy city, the site of the temple that was destroyed twice, and we hope to be rebuilt soon. Megillat Esther, we're reading from Netivot Shalom, the paths of peace, written by one of the Slonder Rebbe's, Shalom Noach Razovsky, and sharing with you a piece that's regarding the Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther. Hisemel shel nefila l'shefel hamatzav she'avra al am Yisrael ei pa'am. That the scroll of Esther represents a falling or lowering of the situation of the Jewish people as a whole and individually that there never was before. When we were in Egypt and we were on a low level, that was when we were slaves, we had no choice. Jews have faced two kinds of exiles. One exile is where there was great persecution, which was example of which was Egypt, the Soviet Union, when there was great oppression, and then where we had situations of great freedom, like the situation in Persia during the days of the story of Megillat Esther, of Purim, and also in America, people have had up until now great freedom, and regretfully, instead of taking advantage of elevating oneself, learning more, observing more, there have been many of our people who've used the opportunity to assimilate, to intermarry, and so the Jews were in a situation of loneliness, and God retracted His presence from us in reaction to our lack of observance. Haman Amar Yeshno Amachad, in the Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther, Haman, who was one of the main villains, said there's one nation of Amru Chazal, and a rabbi said in Megillat Esther, Shamar Elokehem Yeshanhu, that their God is sleeping. This people is separate, they're not unified, they don't follow the king's rule. So there are those who say they don't follow the king's rules, they didn't follow Achashverosh's rule. But there are others who say that when it says Ha Melech, the king, that relates to God, that they didn't follow God's rules and regulations. And therefore God was sleeping. Al pi hamuva b'kitvei harizal, and according to the writings of the holy Ari of Tzfat, who lived in the 16th century, Shahaman haya rosh haklipa. Haman, in the language of Kabbalah, of esoteric mysticism, was the head of the husks. V'yada shegam lemala haya az bechinat dormita v'sheina. And Haman recognized that up above it was a period of God was napping, He was sleeping, He wasn't on the job, because the Jews had hummed him to sleep. Shekvar avru hashivim shana, that the 70 years of exile had already passed, when the Jews had been promised to return to the land of Israel and to rebuild the Holy Temple. V'adayin lo hayu yicholim latzet migalut Bavel, and they were still not able to leave the exile of Babylon. U'kemuva b'yisod ha'avodah, is brought in the main book of Shlomo Chassidut, the Yisod ha'avodah, ki Mordechai im hakolel shel otiyot gematria ha'eder, that if you take the name Mordechai and you take the gematria value, the numerical value, including the entire name as well, that it comes to the word ha'eder. Ha'eder is concealed, disappeared, that God disappeared. Shehaya az bechinat ha'eder. It was a period of feeling that God had left us. Kamo kol zera acharei sheniklat ba'aretz v'lefnei hatzmicha shehu b'matzav shel ha'eder v'karov liot holech v'nifsad. A seed is planted into the ground. The seed disappears. The ground covers it up. We think that the seed is gone and that's it. But this is before the seed begins to grow, flower, and to sprout out from the earth. Ubizman hahu yardu am Yisrael ledarga hanemucha bioter, and because of the lack of sensing that God is with us, God is there, that we're out there all alone under the subjugation of Persia, that the Jews fell to a very, very low level, shkuim b'sharei tuma, that they were stuck in the lowest gates of impurity, ad shenenu misudato shel Achashverosh hamasamelet kol hatavot. They were at such a low level that they benefited, they allowed themselves to enjoy, against Mordechai's wishes, the great feasts that were given by Achashverosh that represents all of the desires, the impure desires of a person. Hein tavot achilot v'chol tanugim hakshurim ba, including the desires of appetite, excessive appetites, and all of the enjoyments that are associated with it. Kamo latet l'kol echad et kol minei hanahot v'afilu yayin shel medinato, that each person was given the opportunity to enjoy, to benefit, even with wine from his own country, v'hein tavot nashim, and they were allowed to enjoy the desires of the opposite sex. B'chol inyan havet v'shtei havet Vashti, and this whole idea of bringing the Queen Vashti to appear before the king only in her royal crown. V'achar kach kol haparsha im Esther, and then we have, subsequent to that, the whole story of Esther winning a beauty contest and being brought to the king to marry the king instead of the killed Queen Vashti. Ki hayot va'am Yisrael ko nitrachaku mi tanugei hakdusha, that the Jews were so far from the enjoyment of holy behavior, they fell letoch tanugim shvelim, so they fell to low, impure, improper enjoyments. Umanhigei hadur hatzadikim hayu miwashim me'amatzav, and the leaders of the generation of the Jews were in despair from the situation. Kamo shenema, like it says, v'chol avdei hamelech asher b'shar hamelech, that all the servants of the king, where were they? They were at the gates of the king. Mirumaz, this sentence of where were the leaders? They were at the gates of the king rather than being with the people. Mirumaz hints at the tzaddikim avdei melech shel olam, the righteous people that served the king of the world. Korim umishtachavim, they bowed down lahaman, they submitted to Haman, mitoch nefilat ruach, from the falling of their spirits. The spirits had fallen low. Migodel hahester, from the greatness of the invisibility of God. Matzavam hashefel shel ha'am, and the low situation spiritually of the nation. Asher kol ze haya siyua lemashvato ha'iyuma shel Hamana, and all of this was an aid as a violent, threatening thought for Haman ha'agagi, from Haman, who came from the seed of Amalek, lahashmid et kol Yudim, and he said, this is an opportunity. The Jews are weak and they are vulnerable to being destroyed. V'gam Esther hatzadeket, and also Esther the righteous, hayta bebchinat v'kasher avadati, she was also in desperation. She says, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I will lose it. I will lose it. I have an opportunity here and I may perish. Matzav hashmada kol inyanei haguf, destruction of matters of the body, v'inyanei haneshama, and matters of the soul, gam yachad, both together. In Egypt, when we were enslaved, it was physical slavery, it was mental slavery, but it wasn't destruction of the entire Jewish nation. And here, the entire Jewish nation were under the subjugation of Persia, 127 provinces, that everybody in their grips, and they were able to destroy the entire Jewish people. Matzav zeh meramez l'tkufat domot shel Hester ha'ovrot al haklal v'al haprat b'chol dor v'dor. And we find in each and every generation there is a similar situation somewhere in the world where a tyrant tries to destroy the Jews under their control. Matzav shel v'anochi Hester Aster. And this is that sentence, where is Esther mentioned in the Torah? It says, and I will hide myself. I will surely hide myself, God says. That was the feeling, the sense of being left alone without a saver lifeboat. Esther Kaful, here in Persia, it was a double hiding, be'inyanei hanogim el haguf ve'el haneshama, because it not only represented the spirit, the mind, but also as a subjugation of the body as well. V'zeh godel inyano shel Yom HaPurim, and this is one of the greatnesses that we handle, that we are faced with in the day of Purim, sheb'matzav kazeh, that in this situation that seemed very impossible to get out of, efshar alot l'si hadargot, and yet in the end it has a happy ending, which everyone likes a happy ending, that we're able to attain this peak of levels, aliyah mitoch hahester, to be able to pull oneself up out, even out of the hidden, when it appears that there is no chance, no opportunity, no way out. Purim einam betelim leolam, and therefore the days of Purim, as opposed to other holidays, are never canceled. Purim will always be the important part for us of the year. Hi'ikartachti briyat haolam, because the purpose of the whole entire creation of the world, shenitava hakadosh baruch hu liyot lo dira betachtonim, the purpose of the world was that God wanted to have a place to dwell among us down below, not only in the heavens, but also here with us on the earth. Shemitoch hashaul, that from out of the depths, tachti, yimtzeu et haderech, that the way will be found, ech yidabek el hashoresh, how to cleave to the root, chelek elokeh mimal, the portion of God above. Wish you a Chag Purim Sameach. Be encouraged, be strong, and through prayer, through charity, through gifts to our friends, gifts to the poor, may we find elevation, salvation, and comfort. Be a Purim Sameach to everybody. Happy Purim.